Hey, what's going on guys? Fate here, and today I'm here to bring you guys a video where I rank the top tier draft Pokemon and what I think they're at in terms of how viable they are. So be sure to like the video if you like it and subscribe for more. So let's get straight into it. Let me actually reiterate, please subscribe. Close to 100 subs. Really appreciate it if you get to 100, and comment down below on why I'm wrong about all my placings. So this is sort of a weird. I'm not just ranking them on how viable I think they are entirely. Mostly I am because the point system in Draft League sort of makes it to where it's harder to rank them like all based on viability because something might be a lot less points, but for this example, they're all around 16 or higher. Pretty much I got all the top tiers and then a couple Pokemon in the 16 list, or like normally in 16, that I think are the best. So this is going to be mostly what I think they're at in terms of viability. But there might be some times where I'm like, yeah, this mon is like really good for its value, or I think this mon's overpriced, but it's still good. Something like that. But yeah, let's get straight into it. And the first mon I'm going to rank is Aegislash. And honestly, this is the mon that maybe I've used the most throughout Gen 8. So Aegislash is definitely a cool mon. So let's see. What do I think about it? Aegislash is a mon that has, let's just go over the team builder now. So Aegislash, really cool mon, but it's mostly pigeonholed into like choice spec sets or subtoxic. It's mostly pigeonholed into that type of stuff. It's not really great at doing many other things, which sort of brings it down a lot. And its sword dance sets, while good, leave a lot to be desired because it just does not hit as hard. With its, it only goes to 140 now, and just the sword dance sets do not hit as hard. It's really pigeonholed into an offensive type of thing. And also, you know, it doesn't have very much utility outside of that. You know, really all it can do is spread toxic outside of being offensive. So, because of that, I think I'm going to put it into good. I definitely don't think the mon is underwhelming though. Like a lot of people may think, oh dude, this is going to be tough to... Okay, this is going to be tough to change the seeds, to remember to change the seeds. I'll try not to go back and forth. So, I think Aegislash is a great example of just this good solid mon, especially for its price at 16. But let's take a look at something that I think is going to be up in potential ban in S, and that mon's going to be Dragapult. This mon, obviously, a classic example of a potential ban mon. It's actually banned in a lot of stuff. Why does this happen to me? But yeah. So Dragapult is it does everything really, really well, and I'll go ahead and show you guys why that is on Showdown. All right, let's take a look at Dragapult, guys. Really, we're just gonna look at its stats because I think most people will have a decent understanding of its move pool. You know, it gets dragon moves and ghost moves. But yeah, so mostly because of its speed, it's usually the fastest mon in a matchup unless it's against Mega Aerodactyl or Zeraora. It's usually the fastest mon in the matchup, and that's huge. That's huge. Speed control is really one of the biggest things in draft. That on top of its insane move pool is just it really is insane, and its speed really allows it to run choice specs as often as it wants. So it doubles as a good breaker, and doubles as a good breaker, has incredible utility with T-Wave, Will-O-Wisp, stuff like that, and it can be a sweeper with Dragon Dance. It's just the best mon allowed, straight up. It's the best mon allowed, and that's why it's banned in most 8 mon formats, is because it's just too good. It's just too good. And that's why it's banned in most 8 mon formats, and even some 11 mon formats. It's banned because it's just that good. Alright, so we have a potential ban, we have a good Pokemon. Let's look at a great Pokemon, but perhaps one that isn't quite on that potential ban type of thing. And for that, we're going to look at Garchomp. Garchomp has really good stats, good speed tier. It actually hits above 100. It's at 102. Base speed, I think it hits like 340-ish, something like that for its max speed. Maybe like 335 actually. I don't know. But yeah, so it has good speed, and it's a really great breaker. Sets up Stealth Rocks, and it's bulky. It just really does everything you would want a Mon to do. It can be a sweeper, it can be a bulky Mon, it can have a utility with Stealth Rock Toxic, stuff like that. It's just exactly what you would want in a bulky or in a top Mon. It really is exactly what you would want. And it's a great example of a Mon that's great, but not quite ban worthy or anything like that. Let's see, what's a Mon that I think is underwhelming for where it's often priced at? Let's see. I often have gone back and forth on this Mon, and honestly, my opinion may change depending on the team that it's on and stuff like that. I'm actually thinking between two Mons for this. So I'm going to talk about Victini first. And it's a Mon that I actually find underwhelming. And potentially I'm just bad. there's potential that I am just bad, and that's why I can't get this working right. So let's see. Yeah, I don't know. It's base 100 across the board as a mythical is, but it really sets itself apart with B Create, which is why it's the best or one of the best mythicals. I don't know, but it's sometimes not strong enough without Choice Band, not fast enough without Choice Scarf, or it gets chipped down too quickly by Rocky Helmet plus Stealth Rocks if it's not heavy duty boots. So it really runs into problems there. Obviously, one of the more common sets with it is like you just lead it with Weakness Policy, and you just try to do as much damage as possible, which honestly might be the best way to use it, just to use it more as a gadget type of Pokemon, if that makes sense. But yeah, I find it underwhelming for it's often priced at like 17. So that's sort of my opinion there. Could be wrong. The other one I was deliberating this with was Deoxys Speed. Obviously the fastest Pokemon allowed. Not close. That's actually not true. Regieleku's faster. But Regieleku's terrible. So Deoxys Speed, I don't know. It's weird. It's definitely like the best lead in the game to get up spikes and stuff like that. But it doesn't have the effect on the game that I feel like you really want your top Pokemon to have. So that's sort of why it's going to sit in underwhelm for me, because it just does not have the effect on the game that I really wish it to have. Even when it's a loud nasty plot, which in SDL it is, which is what I'm sort of basing it off of. Obviously, I'm going to base a lot of this off my own league, but it's just not as overwhelmingly good as you would think with its speed tier. It just does not hit hard enough, even though it can afford Modest almost every week, and it can afford like Life Orb. It just does not hit hard enough, even with Nasty Plot. But yeah, it's definitely still a really big threat. So I don't know if I want to put it on Underwhelm, but I'm going to put it in Underwhelm. It is what it is. So let's take a look at the bond that I probably use the next most, and that's Mega Dynasty next to Aegislash. And that one's going to go in great for me. It has 160 attack and special attack. So yeah, it's pretty insane. And with the addition of Mystical Fire, it pretty much hits everything it needs to hit. Has Calm Mind and Rock Polish. So it has good setup options. Stealth Rock is obviously huge for it as well, because it forces a lot of switches because of how broken it is, how offensively threatening it is. I just think it's probably one of the best breakers in the game. Probably the second best if I had to, second or third best if I had to put a number on it. Yeah, it's just insane. Obviously, it's really, really frail, but Magic Bounce is also really good. It just has the ability to beat all of its checks, really. I think generally you're going to see really fat water types do the best against it. There's some other stuff like, you can just run Aqua Berry on all your steel types. But yeah, that's sort of what I think. I also think Calm Mind Draining Kiss is something that is underexplored with Dynasty as well. But yeah, I think it's really great, and I actually think it's better than Garchomp, to be honest with you. But yeah, I'm gonna start ordering these, by the way. So if we're gonna order that, yeah, let's move that. Let's move that there. Next up. What's a mon that I think is overpriced, or did I save that? I'm gonna save that. I'm gonna put Celesteela in good. It's a mon that I'm really, really terrible with, but I think it's really good. Autotomize plus, Meteor Beam, Weakness Policy, or Meteor Beam Power Herb, or just Weakness Policy. It just has so much coverage. It can be physically offensive or especially offensive. It can be obviously defensive with Leech Seed and Toxic and Protect and Sub. It just is really incredible. And then even on defensive sets, Heavy Slam just does so much damage to a lot of people's teams as well. It's just really a good mon. I don't think it's great or anything. It's definitely not on the same level as Dynasty or Garchomp or anything like that. But I think it's great, especially for the price it's at. It's at 16 now in a lot of leagues. And I think that's a really good price for it, to be honest. I would get that every time. Next up. I think we're going to delve into overpriced for me. And that really hurts me, because if you know anything about me, you know I'm a huge Zeraora fan. I love the electric types. Zeraora is the fastest mon on all these mons that I'm ranking. And it actually doesn't have that dissimilar stats to Dragapult. It kind of hits just as hard for the most part. But you're going to see that the main difference is that Electric is just not as spammable as Ghost. And it can't run Band or Specs and stuff like that. Obviously not having U-Turn huge is a huge difference as well, because it can't just do bring stuff in the way Dragapult can. It just does not do enough damage. It's really reliant on the rest of the team, and I would prefer to pick up a better breaker or a better defensive mon using the 17 points that it costs. However, I would definitely get it at 16. I'm not gonna lie. It's just slightly overpriced for me, and it often goes in the first round, which I really just like. I do not think it's at that level at all. It just does not do enough damage. Does not hit. Yeah, really, that's the main thing. It just does not do enough damage. To be honest with you, to so many things, it just does not do enough damage, and that's really the main thing. So you're gonna see that we have both Landoruses right here, and we're gonna start with Landorus I, which is teetering on potential ban and great for me. Some people think it's good, but I think they're fucking out of their mind. For me, it's gonna go in great. Probably right here. I really am just a huge believer in Dynasty. But yeah, this mon is 101 speed, I believe, so that's a really huge speed tier hit. Obviously faster than all the mythicals and all the other stuff that's base 100. So yeah, that's just a really huge speed tier hit. And then it just does insane damage with the Sheer Force Life Orb combination. Has really good coverage with knockoff Rock Slide. Rock Slide being able to hit flying types that would otherwise be immune to it. Sludge Wave hits grass types that would resist the ground type moves, and then U-Turn, really good for it as well, as you can just get out of there. And then it also has setup options with Calm Mind and Rock Polish, and then also can be a Stealth Rocker too. So I think this mod is pretty insane. And I don't know if it's quite ban worthy. It could be, but I just haven't seen it used to maybe its full potential. As much as it should be, but it definitely teeters the line there. But I actually prefer Dynasty, I think. Next up, let's get this mon out of the way right here. Clefable is going to go in great, and you're seeing it above mons that it is priced less than like Victini and Zeraora, and that's because Clefable is mispriced. And Clefable should be 17 points, maybe even 18 points. It is just the best defensive mon that is allowed ever, and it has so much utility. Obviously, the fairy typing is really, really good. Has incredible utility. Calm Mind can threaten to win any game. and often it can live one of any hit from anything. So yeah, that's pretty. It's pretty insane, and I feel like most people know what Clefable does. But yeah, Soft Boiled, Wish Protect, Aromatherapy, Thunderwave, Knockoff, Stealth Rock, Calm Mind, Moonblast Flamethrower, Moonblast Thunder, Moonblast Thunderbolt, and among other things. It's just has so much utility. Can live one at any hit, whatever, etc., etc. It's super underpriced and it's great. Next up, we're gonna look at a few other mons. I'm gonna do Glade next, and I'm gonna put it in good. Glade is definitely a mon that is usually at the max price, or one less than the max price, but I don't put it on the same level as Dynasty, which it's often priced with. I just don't put it on the same level. I don't think it has the breaking power. It doesn't have the sweeping power that Dynasty has. And it really should be able to break. But I don't know. A lot of times it just feels like that. I don't know. It's not there. It's not there. It doesn't quite do the power the same way. Yeah, I don't know. It really is similar to Dynasty in terms of just it breaks so fucking well, but it's just not quite there. Maybe it just doesn't have the utility that Dynasty has that sets it apart. But yeah, I don't think it's quite there. Obviously, CC, Knockoff, Leaf Blade, Zen Headbutt has plenty of coverage. Ice Punch, Triple Axle has plenty of coverage to really do all the work that you need it to do. But I don't know. It's just not quite there for me. Let's do another one like Clefable that I think is severely underpriced, underrated, whatever. A lot of people don't like Tobufini, but I do think it's really incredible. And for 16 points, I would honestly get it every time as long as it fits with my team. Yeah, I just think it's really incredible. Obviously, the Calm Mind, Taunt, Draining Kiss, Water Move set is insane. It is a threat to win the game, similar to Clefable, maybe even more threatening than Clefable to win the game at any time with its speed and taunting things. Obviously. And then it also has Scarf and Spec sets. Scarf sets can be disruptive, and Spec sets can be threatening with Trick and stuff like that. It really has a lot of utility, as well as having Defog and Knockoff to help it as well. And then it also has Nature's Madness and Taunt, so it can be a stall breaker. It can be a setup sweeper with Calm Mind and stuff like that. I think it's really good. I just think it's really good. Great typing as well, obviously. Next up, we're going to get a mon here that I think is good, especially for where it's priced at. I guess for where it's priced at, Femi, I do think it's better than Slowking. So, Bucket Brothers, put that shit in great. I don't know. I don't think it's better than Glade, though. I feel like there should be something in between. Getting underwhelmed at this point. But yeah, I do think that Slowking is just a really good mon for where it's priced at. It was a little overrated at the time. I think it's pretty fairly rated now. It's just really bulky, has a ton of coverage, Can be really hard to deal with because of that. But there are definitely ways around it. You can kind of just stop it with your own sponge oftentimes because it doesn't have a super big threatening setup option, especially if you have trick options and stuff like that. Obviously, or if you just have a faster sponge that has taunt, stuff like that. It definitely has its place though. It's just a really good sponge for moves, and it can help your team break with Future Sight. Really good utility, just infinite coverage, stuff like that. So, yeah. Another mon that I think is great, Tornadusion Therian. Probably, I think it's better than Garchomp. And it's generally considered the absolute best mon in Standard Draft League, besides the stuff that is in potential ban, maybe besides Landorus as well. It's generally considered the best mon in Draft League, but I just really value Dynasty. But yeah, Speed Tier is incredible. Has really good utility with Knockoff, Taunt, and Defog. Obviously, can be an offensive threat too now with Nasty Plot and Focus Blast and Heat Wave, things like that. Really, it makes its name off of its utility sets, though, with Taunt and Knockoff. It can pretty much spread Knockoff infinitely. And then obviously its Regenerator, it never dies. So, yeah, it really just makes its name off of all its utility stuff that it can do for you. Yeah, not much more to say there on Torn. But also, it's similar to Dragapult. It can get Mons in as well with U-turn. Really great. Just probably the best pivot Mon in draft. Talking about another really good pivot Mon, let's talk about Landorus Therian, which works similarly to Tornadusion, as it has infinite utility options with Knockoff, Stealth Rock, U-turn, Toxic, all those things. But it also can be really threatening offensively with Sword Sands and Rock Polish, and its huge 145 base attack stat. So, yeah, Landorus really, really good. Only really hindered by the fact that it's somewhat slow. It's somewhat slow at base 90 speed. But yeah, that's really the only thing that hinders it, and then it kind of gets pigeonholed into being a more defensive Mon. But other than that, this Mon is just amazing. There's nothing else to say about it. And if it had any type of reliable recovery, say Roost, that Mon would be bad. So, yeah. Next up, let's talk about Latios. Latios is a Mon that I actually also find underwhelming, but I do think it's definitely better than those two. And maybe it's a Mon that I need to use more, but I've definitely found it underwhelming every time I've used it. I don't feel like it does enough damage for being a Latios. Yeah, that's just my opinion. Obviously, it has really, really good coverage, especially in Gen 8. But yeah, I don't know. I always found it underwhelming for me every time I've used it. I don't really have much more to say there. It's really fast, has trick and stuff like that, so it has good utility. But I just found it underwhelming. Mawile, definitely a Mon that I think is really, really good. I do think it's a little overrated, just because it's hard to get in because of how slow it is. Obviously, it pairs really well with Trick Room, though. And when it does get in, it's going to kill a Mon, unless you're bad. Or some other thing. But yeah, obviously probably the best breaker once it finally gets in. If it does get in safely, but I think it's a little too hard to get in safely sometimes. Obviously, though, Sucker Punch is a huge threat coming off that huge power 105 attack stat. So, yeah. It's just really good. Another one that I think is really, really good is Mew. I don't know, dude. I'm moving Landers back, bro. I'm moving Landers back. Yeah. I think Mew is insane. Infinite utility, as Mew does have. Obviously, really, really great Pokemon. Really good offensive threat as well, because it has just... as it has infinite utility, it has infinite offensive options. I often find the best sets are like Spadef Taunt, as it just invalidates a fuck ton of Mons, and then Nasty Plot. I generally find to be the best. But also, you're going to see Agility or Autotomize or whatever it gets. Dragon Dance, you're going to see that as well, as just offensive threats. So, yeah. Let's get the other Mon that's in potential ban out of the way. It's potentially better than Dragapult. This Mon, this Mon is a thing. This Mon doesn't really have that much versatility in what it runs. You're usually going to see Scarf or Band. You might occasionally see Bulk Up, but like 90% of the time you're going to see Scarf or Band. It just does really, really insane damage with that Wicked Blow CC combination. It just does insane damage, and it also has coverage to hit fairy types. So, yeah, it's fucking insane. Yeah, it's probably the best breaker. It's probably better than Mawile in terms of breaking, just because it's speed tier as well. Yeah, it's just incredible. Let's throw him on that I think is good. And that's going to be Zapdos. I think Zapdos is really good. I think it's pretty fairly rated, though. It has really good offensive threats, like offensive threatening power, but it does have to rely on Hurricane, which really draws it back. Static is really just incredible, so it's really good as a defensive Mon, and maybe better as a defensive Mon than an offensive Mon, just because Hurricane is so unreliable. But yeah, with its typing and stuff like that, you can really spread paralyzation around and disrupt the opposing team as they try to pivot around with U-turn. You can really disrupt that with Static. And then it's just hard to kill because of its typing, oftentimes. So, yeah. We got 2 more mons here that I actually really like to use. I like to use both of these mons. I probably don't. I mean, these two mons right here. You know what I'm saying? The Clefairy and the Femi are a little bit maybe out of place up there because, like, I don't know if I think they're better than Glade and shit like that. Like, I don't know, but whatever. We're gonna put Scizor good. I'm gonna put it there. Yeah, sort of similar to Zapdos. It's a really good defensive mon. It's often used more defensively than it is offensively, but with Sword Stance, it's a threat to win the game, especially late game. With Bullet Punch, it just the priority. It's always a threat to win the game, and the defense, the offensive defensive sets. You know what I'm saying? The ones that are both are really, really incredible. So, yeah, and then obviously it's one of the best pivots in the game. Tapu Koko, another one that it's probably great. It's probably great if we're honest. If we're all honest with ourselves, it doesn't do the damage that it used to do, but similar to Dragapult, it brings other mons in and helps them break stuff. Obviously, it can be a stall breaker. Nature's Band is taunt, reflect, and light screen, so it can do other ways to help its team. Also has defog. Yeah, it just has a lot of good utility on it, as well as being a mon that can win the game if the ground type goes down. So you got to really be careful with your ground type against this mon. And that also can help other mons as well. You often see it paired with something like Medicham to give it access to stronger Thunder Punches, stuff like that. Or just bring in stuff like Medicham and Glade that really hits hard. You're going to see it paired with stuff like that a lot. So yeah, this is the list. This is the list, and you see a lot of mons in great because this is the top draft Pokemon. So most of them are really good, and you just see a few mons in underwhelming. There's a key there that in underwhelming there is 3 psychic types. Perhaps I'm just not good at using the psychic types. That's potentially true. So yeah, that's the video though, guys. Thank you guys for watching the video. I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.